Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm reviewing the movie Warcraft. Now, I guess 5, 6 years ago, I spent about a year playing Warcraft pretty regularly. Uh, I only ever really had one character though. I had a human paladin, and got that character all the way up to level 68 before just kind of one of those, it's been fun, but I'm kind of ready to move on to other things. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. I mean, Warcraft was a good deal of fun. Um, Read a fair number of the novels. I mean, I like the universe well enough, but ever kind of since I stepped away from the game, I've not really paid too much attention to it. And when they announced this movie, I was a little bit skeptical as to whether or not they'd be able to pull it off. But now we have this movie, and at the end of the day, if I could sum this movie up in a word, it's okay. It's not a bad movie by any measure, but there are quite a few things in this movie that just didn't really click for me. The problem with this movie is that while there are lots of little things that are nicely done, there's some very nice touches, and some of the characters are even pretty well done. It's just it doesn't really come together and into a really cohesive film. And I mean, to put it bluntly, it's not more than the sum of its parts. There are some parts of it that are really good, and there's some parts of it that are really weak. And when you put it all together, it comes out to something that's just kind of okay. So I'm going to keep the majority of this this review spoiler free. There are one or two things that I do want to talk about at the end in terms of spoilers, but let's just kind of get the big thing out of the way, the big stuff out of the way first. First of all, the CGI is great. I mean, in terms of visuals, I really don't think there's anything you can complain about in this movie. It looks like Warcraft. And even though my knowledge of the Warcraft lore was never that great, I do remember some stuff about it, and I definitely remember some of the places that I visited when I was playing in the game. And it was really awesome, even if it was only for a few seconds to get to see Ironforge. I always loved it when I was playing as a character, and I would just walk into Ironforge and just open up before me. And I really, really wanted to see something like that in the movie, which I kind of wish we'd seen a little bit more, but okay. But Stormwind, that was so great. It was so great to be able to look down. It's like, oh wow, they even paid attention to the layout of the city from the game, because I remember it's like, yeah, that's exactly how the docks are laid out in Stormwind. I remember that. And I mean, there's other little touches too, like you get to see really briefly a Murloc, and it goes like, I'm like, yes, I never got tired of killing those things when I was playing the game. So I mean, that was really cool. Another thing that this movie has going for it is, one, it's got a lot of really good actors in it. You know, folks like Clancy Brown, Dominic Cooper. Those are the people who really sort of jump out at me, just because I'm really familiar with their work from a lot of other things. Um, Another thing I also liked is that very clearly the people that made this movie took pains to show that in this world, in this version of Azeroth, humans don't equal white people. Okay, you've got Garona. I mean, okay, she's half orc, half human in the movie, but she's played by a mixed race actress. Ditto the Queen, who looks. I mean, so the idea of her like them, like, oh, this is the Queen, this is her brother, and these two look like absolutely, laughably nothing alike. Is sort of like, okay, maybe they're half brother and sister, but yeah. But that was, I mean, again, she's also a mixed race lady, and also played by the woman who was Reyna on Agents of Shield and Tulip on Preacher. So she's somebody who's really pretty recognizable. And we also got to see one of the major guys in the Azeroth military, one of the King's Guard guys, or whatever he was. This black dude. You see an Asian guy who never says anything there. And they also took those pains, really. If you're paying attention to the humans in the background to show, like, okay, there's a decent mix of extras of various races in the background, and I'm really happy that they did do that. That's, I mean, that's something that it's sad that we have to really praise people for doing these things in 2016, but Hollywood is what it is. But the fact that they did take these pains to really sort of show, like, hey, this is how it is in our world. Let's not worry about whatever. Okay, Azeroth is meant to be a place for everyone, and I'm glad that they did that in terms of the casting for the major characters, and for what they did with the extras. Okay, um, so we're just gonna leave it at that. Now, with that said, let's see what else did I want to talk about. Well, I guess I should say a little something about the various actors, and I think it says something about this movie that just I had to sit down and go over the casting list again, just to remember what even some of the major characters were, even though I saw this movie yesterday. So it's things like, oh, Reasonable Orc is a cool character, but like, oh, what's his name again? And it's like, okay, like the half human, half orc lady. Oh wait, what's her name? Oh yeah, Garona. I mean, these aren't characters that really stick in my mind. And it's certainly not for a real lack of trying, I think, on any of the actors' parts. I think everybody was out there genuinely giving their best. But some of the material is definitely thin, particularly on the side of the humans. The orcs have a really cool story. I really love what they did with the orcs. It's very, very gray morally with the orcs. Most of them, the orcs are really just trying to survive. And it's kind of the question of, well, are we just going to be these like savage monsters, or are we going to try and be people who live by a code of honor? Do we stick by our beliefs? Do we don't have to be about just killing. There has to be a lot. There has to be lines that we aren't willing to cross if we're willing to be able to consider ourselves good people. And so the stuff on the orc side is really cool, and also having Gul'dan being played by Daniel Wu, that's also pretty cool. Folks might remember him best probably as Sonny from Into the Badlands. Again, here we have taking a step away, taking a step in the right direction against the grain in Hollywood of having a Asian actor in a pretty significant role, and involving something that doesn't involve kung fu even. Although, in all fairness, Daniel Wu, if you've seen Into the Badlands, is an extremely accomplished martial artist. The guy's he's a pretty cool dude. So yeah, but I did feel I would be remiss in not bringing that up, given that the recent discussions about Asian actors in American media has been kind of a hot topic lately. And of course, the my personal opinion on it is like, yeah, we Asian actors have totally been getting the shaft, and that's bullshit. But well, anyway, so and this is really kind of fitting because one of the things that was nice about Warcraft is that in general they did make genuine efforts to show that nobody was 100% right and nobody's 100% wrong. Everybody's a little gray. Now here it's a little bit of a different case when it comes to the humans, because the humans are just like, what the hell's going on? We need to figure out what's going on with these things that are killing and kidnapping people. So there's really no negative side up for the humans on this situation. Not that it's going to stay that way, especially if you know your Warcraft lore. But still, the fact that they did sort of take the time to really lay things out for the orcs and really makes what's going on with those characters and what's going on with their society reasonably complex, that was really cool. And again, it's the CGI on this again is just amazing. It's really just mind blowing stuff. Um, but since we're speaking about the races of Azeroth here, one thing that I also do kind of have to complain about a little bit is it is, of course, this story is basically based on the original game, Orcs versus Humans. Okay, fair enough. But it's just like, oh man, we only get to see dwarves very briefly. We only get to really see night elves really briefly. I don't think I saw a single gnome anywhere. And of course, we don't get to see, goblins or trolls or anything. But again, there's only so much this movie can do, and it really does need to be focused on the humans and the orcs and really setting things up. And of course, they're going to go certainly going to expand on this as things go by. As for the story itself, it's kind of confusing. There were definitely moments where I'm like, wait, why did this happen? Is this something from the game that I don't remember? What is this thing here that I'm looking at? Can I get a little bit more information about what is happening here? And it just constantly felt to me like things weren't being explained clearly enough. And I'm coming into this somebody who has at least some Warcraft knowledge, albeit not not fantastically remembered and more than a little bit out of date. I mean, as far as Warcraft hadn't gone any further than Wrath of the Lich King when I was still playing the game. There must always be a Lich King. That was pretty cool. That was cool. So yeah, but I lost my train of thought. But like I was saying, some of the characters, some of the stories, it just feels really thin and at times very confusing. And that also kind of led to another one of the movies, just because of all this, like, what's going on here? I need a little bit more information, or like, while the stuff going on with these characters is really not terribly interesting. There is definitely a little more than a little bit of how much longer is this going to be? And you never want the audiences being like, okay, I really kind of wish this movie would hurry up and wrap things up. You never want that. Let's see, what else? Well, I guess that kind of covers the main things that I had to say about this movie. So, what I want to do now is just sort of briefly talk about a couple of things from towards the end of the movie um, that are kind of going to go into spoiler territory a little bit. So, I'm going to give you a nice 5 count if you want to step away. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what the hell was the king thinking when he told Garona to kill him? I mean, I get the idea. It's like, okay, if you kill me, I know you're a good person. I'm gonna die here anyway. There's no escaping that. At least you'll be able to be a hero into your people, and presumably to act as a moderating a voice of reason. Okay, but here's the thing: the humans are almost certainly going to find out eventually that the king was killed by someone that he had taken into his trust, you know, and got backstabbed for it. And then, like, well, why in the hell would the humans want to cut any kind of deal with her, negotiate, even talk to her? I mean, Lothar or Logrim or whatever the hell that dude's name was. I mean, he had sort of this sort of pseudo romance going on with her, and then it's like, oh, she killed the king, who was my brother-in-law and my very close friend. Well, shit. I mean, he's not gonna listen to her. She says to him like, "Yeah, your king totally told me to kill him." Well, he's just gonna like, yeah, bullshit. So that just completely undermines anything that Garona might do. I mean, at best she can maybe sort of temper them within the orcs, but any sort of negotiation or interaction with humans that involves her anyway is basically out the window. Nobody is going to listen to a damn thing an orc says at this point. Not after they got back from the human perspective that they got backstabbed like that. So, I mean, again, it's at best a really weak plan on the part of the king, and who doesn't really seem to have thought that whole thing out. But I guess he figures like, well, I mean, I'm gonna get killed by the orcs anyway. The humans aren't gonna really be particularly inclined to listen to them after this, no matter what. I guess if I can get Garona in there and she can maybe act as the voice of moderation, maybe we can tone things down a little bit. I mean, I guess it's kind of a take what you can get situation when you're about to be killed by a mob of orcs, but still. Um, Oh, and also cool when the wizard dude, who I keep wanting to call Catterley, even though I know that's not his name. That's the name of the main character from that old Forgotten Realms novel series, The Cleric Quintet, which was really, really good. When he turned that guard into a sheep, that was pretty funny. Also, with the guardian guy being corrupted by the fell, I'm like, um, when when did he get infected with the fell? Did they say that in the movie? Because I'm not clear about that. Also, is this guy trying to look like Jesus or something? Is this a deliberate thing? And oh yeah, we get to see the birth of Thrall, which is really cool. Thrall's a very, of course, a really important guy in the character. I remember reading the novel that kind of explained his life, and that was a very good book. Definitely interested to see where that goes. Of course, we also briefly get to see Prince Valerian, and we all know what an important guy he becomes in Warcraft lore. But again, at the end of the day, while this movie does have some high points, it's just really thin in a lot of places, and the parts just don't come together well. Also, incidentally, just because I wanted to see this movie before I went to work yesterday, and the only showing I could go to was the 3D version, and I always hate doing that because you got to pay like $2 extra, and it's never worth it. And once again, yeah, seeing this movie in 3D, totally not worth it. So yeah, guys. At the end of the day, the Warcraft movie is okay. Um, I don't really have anything else beyond that to say about it. It was just an okay movie that had some stuff in it that was really cool and in it, and some stuff that was really weak. So, with that said, guys, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, subscribe. Of course, you can also join me on Tumblr at Jedi Reviewer. Follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. And until next time, take care and have a good one.